is time for another professional match of StarCraft 2, and what I got for you today is a Zerg versus Terran. Spawning here on the left-hand side on Automaton LE and playing with the blue Zerg drones. This man is one of my favorites going into 2019. We are currently looking inside of the main base of Reynor. And his opponent already sending out an SCV and even a second one really early on into this match. He's the red Terran player and he goes by the name of MarineLord. Now look, I know I've covered MarineLord quite a bit over the last couple of weeks on this YouTube channel, but the thing is, he's been playing a lot of interesting games, okay? The only thing I know about this match is that the replay timer is really long. So usually that makes for the most exciting games, although I can't help but notice that MarineLord's strategy here is to try and close this game out early. Double barracks already going up. We do see that spawning pool first right now for our Zerg player, which usually makes people assume that he's gonna have an easier time holding a proxy barracks push. But the thing is, if you get your spawning pool first, right? Sure, you can get queens out earlier. Sure, you can get zerglings out earlier as well. But your creep spread is going to be hindered quite a bit. I mean, the natural only comes down right now. That means that bunkers, if MarineLord decides to go for some, he can put them down, like, right over here, right? And that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt quite a bit, because then spine crawlers are going to have a really hard time rooting, and it all just becomes a bit of a mess. Well, we'll see where this game is going to head. I'm looking forward to it, though, because I think we are in for a treat. Now, Reynor did decide to go for 6 Zerglings. That's a good part. If he wants to hold this strategy, he needs as many links as he can. Sometimes people will go for a pool first and then only make 2 links. Then they go back to droning a little bit afterwards. Now, Reynor does now see that there is an SCV moving across as well. That one is just pretending to be a scouting SCV, however, as there's already 2 ready to move towards the natural as well. Is MarineLord gonna build some bunkers? I think he should. It's a relatively low commitment. There we go. One bunker does go down. Now he's going to plant it outside of that vision radius. Although Reynor might realize that something is going on. That bunker is going to be nearly done by the time that he will get vision with this Overlord. And SCV, though, will finally review itself. A queen is headed to the natural. But now that the hatchery on the low ground is done, indeed, the bunker will be spotted. And actually, that Overlord is taking some damage as well. Now, great timing here on that factory by MarineLord. He's going to be able to wall off before the Zerglings will be able to get in. And that means that the bunker finishes. MarineLord is going to start dealing the damage here on the other side of the map. And Reynor is really not getting anything done here with his early spawning pool. So, great play here by MarineLord. I am a little bit worried, though. He does need to finish up that factory here. If the factory does not finish, it cannot be repaired, obviously. But still, Reynor is going to make an effort, at the very least, at canceling this bunker rush. He's got a spine crawler coming up over here. There's another spine crawler inside of the main base as well. He's saving up a lot of Zerglings, but the hatchery is already taking a tremendous amount of damage, and it will just simply go down. Zerglings are still going to town here, but 3 SCVs are keeping the door closed. All right, here we go. Spine crawlers are indeed gonna morph and root in I guess a decent position. They're going to be able to start dealing a little bit of damage, but obviously those 3 SCVs, right, they're going to be excellent when it comes to repairing all of this as well. MarineLord now, though, being outranged here by those spine crawlers, he's going to be forced down these bunkers, but obviously he's always got that safe haven to back up into, right? Excellent control here so far by the Terran player as well. The Zerglings are still looking for a moment at which they can engage, but this game is starting off extremely action-packed. Oh man, look at that micro. Oh, he's timing it in between the spine crawler pokes. While the spine crawlers are oh, that's so sick. That's so pretty. Now, Hellion will be joining the fray here as well. These Zerglings do not have Zergling speed or anything along the way, so this is most definitely going to be a tough hold. The Lynx are going to have to get this around the bunkers in order to actually shut this down here eventually, but this is a bit of a mess. I love that micro, though, from MarineLord, right? Timing it with the pokes right there of the Pokey Boys. Just simply getting the Marines out of there, trying to deal a little bit of damage. The Queen's currently out of energy. There we go. It looks like he's once again found the APM and the attention that this requires to continue microing against those spines. But here we go. The Zerglings are gonna engage. The Queens are also pulled off the line, and they're gonna be the ones that will be able to shut this push down here eventually. I think that's what it's gonna be. But obviously, right, the amount of losses here for Zerg has been ridiculous. Right, all of the links ended up going down as well. The bunker will just barely not get salvaged. But in the grand scheme of things, I kind of have to have a look. Are you ready for it? Units lost. Considering we're only a couple of minutes into the game, and considering Zerg does not have a natural, units lost are heavily in favor right here of the Terran player. Now, Zerg does have a lot of queens down, and all things considered, I mean, we do see a good economy here for Terran, but it's not like it's booming, okay? Like, MarineLord, he didn't really commit too much to that early game pressure, but obviously he was meant to deal the damage. He wasn't really going for, like, a game-winning move, but he definitely... Did he do enough damage? That's the real question, right? What this does mean, though, is that Reynor is now with his back up against the wall. He's gonna have to be very careful with the way that he approaches the rest of this match. He's now gonna have to freestyle a lot more, right? Like, Zerg is very much so a race that is played with timings as well as, like, tempo in mind, right? So, for example, you get your double evos at a certain time, you tech up towards a lair at a certain time, and it's all meant to counter the different bits of aggression that Terran is gonna try and throw at you. In this particular case, everything is up for grabs, okay? Like, the scouting and every bit of information he's gonna try and gather and the timing at which he wants to create units, it's all gonna be very difficult to actually judge right now. Now, MarineLord is going to transition towards those very standard Hellions. He does have another Banshee on the way right now as well. Cloaking will finish up in just a couple of seconds. There we go. 15 seconds there, or I guess 10 seconds right now on that Cloaking Field upgrade. But the Spore is done in the main base. Queens are already waiting for the Banshee, and it looks like the follow-up defense here for Reynor is on point. Actually, the fact that he still has those spines does allow him to drone up rather greedily right now. I'd be surprised if these Hellions decide to jump on the opportunity, but, you know, this is a nice little bit of poking right here on the Pokey Boys. Still, though, the Spore Crawler does indeed root, and Reynor is going to be able to deflect this Banshee here for now. Love the way, though, that Terran is playing this, right? So how is MarineLord going to follow this up? Looks like he will be going for a Hellbat-based push, now with that armory finishing up. You can morph these Hellions into Hellbats, and obviously that means they can be repaired and healed right there by the Medivac. This is gonna... like, he can still transition right now towards Bio, but I kind of like to transition towards Mech from here. He's still making a lot of Hellions as well, so I think that is going to be the plan. Now, I love the fact that Reynor decided to save up energy on those Queens. If he would have gone crazy on the amount of creep tumors that he would lay down, he's gonna have an extremely hard time dealing with, for example, this kind of aggression. And I think that MarineLord is looking at that Queen army, and he realizes, wait a second, I'm likely not really gonna be able to deal that much damage, because they're just gonna simply back up towards the safety of those spine crawlers, and he should be able to hold there. Now, MarineLord did indeed complete the wall in time, using the third command center here as part of the wall off as well. And now with a couple of Hellions here waiting around the back, they're gonna be just fine at holding this kind of aggression. Double Banshee inside of the main base. It's gonna try and deal a little bit of damage. Looks like they got 2 workers there for their trouble as well. Man, I love the way, though, that these guys are playing it, right? Like, it's so smart. There's so many... like, it's so easy to lose at this point. By the way, he did force the cancel there, but it's so easy to lose at this point if you are either the Zerg or the Terran player. Ooh, trying to line up those Queens right now, right? MarineLord tried to get the splash damage there out of those Hellions. Obviously, they deal damage in a line. Hellbats don't do that in the same way. They have a much more... you know, close spread, I suppose. But, for example, if these Zerglings would have gotten into the natural, and if, for example, MarineLord did not complete the wall, or if he did not leave any Hellions behind here, those Zerglings could have, you know, could have just caused him so much trouble. Alrighty. So the Banshees are getting a bunch of kills, right? They initially didn't really get a whole lot done. They once again cut a couple of workers. But Lynx, while once more threatening the counterattack, this is the kind of stuff that can hurt a lot. The depot is down. The depot is down. And that does mean that these Zerglings will be able to run in. The depots on the top of the ramp will immediately be closed. But this will, at the very least, even if it doesn't deal a lot of damage, force all of these Hellions to make their way back home. And right now, by seeing this amount of Hellions, I think that Reynor fully realizes that indeed it is going to be mech. Even though this is a bit of a weird game, this is very likely going to be that switch towards mech right now from the Terran player. And indeed, we have a lot of factories here being added on as well. Now, I'm curious to see where is Reynor going to take this. He's trying to get a couple drones out every once in a while, but he's also making a mixture of a couple units at a time. The thing is, as Zerg, ideally, you want to get all of your drones out as quickly as possible. But obviously, if you lose a lot of them in the process and they will just simply go down, I mean, you're in a terrible spot as well. So it's a very difficult and slippery slope that you're walking on when you're trying to decide the amount of workers that you want to create versus the amount of units that you want to make. And in particular, if Terran is the one completely in control of the game so far as like the pacing of it goes, it's difficult to judge how many drones you want to create. Love this actually, MarineLord now going for the hyperflight rotors. This is starting to be an excellent game already. We've had a very action-packed match. I just want to emphasize that it's really easy to play a game if, you know, everything is according to, you know, plan and you know the so-called standard. This is the kind of game that's extremely difficult to play from both sides. Both of them are trying to figure out what the opponent's doing. They're trying to get away with the amount of economy that they're trying to create, and they're trying to not overextend. Now, I like this a lot. This is something that we saw Maru do at the beginning of 2018. He was going for a lot of Banshees, and then he would get the cloaking field first, create a couple more, and then get hyperflight rotors eventually. Now, in the new multiplayer balance patch, hyperflight rotors has become a cheaper upgrade. So this does mean that these Banshees are going to be able to roam the map. Hyperflight rotors, by the way, it's a speed boost for these Banshees, so they're going to be quite a bit faster. And right now, apparently, an SCV has been tasked with the duty right here to repair up all of these units as well. Now, Reynor actually got the tunneling claws. Wow, okay, so he got tunneling claws on these roaches, as well as the burrow upgrade. So he's gonna try and move forward right here on these roaches. They're likely gonna try and maybe, yeah, I think he's gonna go right now. There you go. Get a couple of those free Hellions. That's gonna shut down the harassment a lot, and with that, he can start droning up once again. A wonderful little move there, actually, by Zerg. Another upgrade that got cheaper. Not just hyperflight rotors, but is indeed going to be that tunneling claws upgrade. Historically speaking, very uncommon to see the burrowed roaches in Zerg versus Terran because, you know, Terran has so much detection. But in this case, it's working out really, really nicely for him. And he did force, finally, MarineLord to back up for a little while. Interestingly enough, we now also do see Infestors joining the fray. So, Infestors for a while, they were used in Roach Ravager based compositions. So what Zerg would do is try to lend the fungal growth and then use the corrosive biles to shut down whatever is there. But in the past, you know, during which that really was popular, fungal growth would 100% root units in place. So you could like fungal growth and then bile it very reliably. In this particular case though, I mean, obviously, fungal growth nowadays, it slows down targets, but it's really difficult to follow the biles up after that harass as well. Anyways, MarineLord now does have a very siege tank Banshee-based army, and this is a strong force. I'm really curious to see how Reynor is planning to counter this, because this is not an easy composition to beat. We do now see, the Neural Parasite coming up here for Reynor. There is also, I love this, the Raven up in the air. He must realize that he's going up against that Tunneled Claw army, but does he know about the Infestors? I don't know if the Infestors have been spotted just yet. One set of Corrosive Biles will damage the first of those tanks, but this is a very scary army. There we go, though. The Infestors are now revealed as well, and I think that Reynor is going to be in a little bit of trouble. I mean, sure, supply-wise, he's in a great spot, but this army, the Roach-based force, is it's just not meant to counter this amount of siege tanks. The amount of Banshees right now up in the air as well is absolutely tremendous. The Infestors, they're trying to get into position. It's a difficult position to take. The Infestors are moving on the left-hand side. The Raven is actually currently out of position. Oh, no way! He's got Neural Parasite. If he can take control of some of those tanks, he can definitely shut this down. Oh, there we go! Neural Parasite being used right there on 3 of those siege tanks. They immediately start firing at their friends as well. The Raven just barely out of position, and that does mean that Reynor is gonna shove forward here with the rest of his Roach Ravager Queen-based army too, and every single last of these Terran units on the ground will be picked up. That was sick. That was honestly really... Reynor thinking on his feet, and that's what I feel like makes him such a strong player. This can't be a scenario that you practice, right? This can't really be a situation that you've been in several times. You just simply have to, you know, think on the fly. And even more so, besides the fact that he just controlled that wonderfully, he's now also got the follow-up already coming. Greater Spire is here. Reynor did find the resources to stack up towards Hive. He did get himself the correct timing on that. And now, with obviously the majority of the anti-air, or the anti-ground, coming out of these Banshees, the Corruptors are going to be able to shut that one down. And as soon as the Banshees are gone, all of a sudden the Brute Lords are going to be phenomenal. MarineLord, though, not slowing down, right? Macro-wise, he's been building up. He's got a lot of army here. He's got a really strong position to fight in as well. I really like this. Very siege tank heavy, surprisingly enough. We haven't really seen a lot of siege tanks, it feels like, over the last couple of weeks. A lot of people have been focusing on that Hellbat, Banshee, Viking, Cyclone-based army. But siege tanks, obviously, are still siege tanks. They're still very good. Already, though, I mean, even though we do see that Greater Spire finishing up, already, we do now also see the Terran player switching towards that heavy anti-air-based composition. So that's a lot of Vikings, a lot of Cyclones here as well. Looks like one of the CCs, though, the one on the left-hand side, the one that's a little further away from the main army, that one will indeed be killed. And even though MarineLord did try to save it there, he is not gonna be able to do that. Still, though, MarineLord is... He's playing Terran like a Zerg, right? Look at him. Putting down command centers everywhere. Oh, I love this as well. I've not actually seen anyone make use of that. On this map, you can destroy the rocks behind the golden minerals and then just, like, mine them that way. Although, it looks like he's still kind of, like... Can you mine them from both sides at the same time? I guess you can, right? If you get SCVs on both sides? Although, I'm pretty sure only one SCV can still harvest anyway, right? At one given time. So it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Reynor, though... While he did also try to take the gold base, or he also did try to take the gold base here, he is not going to be able to do so. That one will be shut down almost immediately. Still, though, the Brute Lords are here. There's a lot of anti-air here for Terran. How many Vikings is that here? So it's 12 Vikings out already, and he's still producing 6 at once. Dude, MarineLord is ready. 6 at once. Obviously, he had those additional starports already from that Banshee production earlier, right? That's really well done. Now, tunneling claws coming in very helpful at this point in the game as well. Obviously, you can tunnel behind the mineral lines as well and still deal damage, even when there are indeed planetary fortresses set up. Long distance mining right now on those golden minerals. I think that will effectively still reduce the amount of income you get out of it, but still, that's very, very, very strong. Reynor, though, moving forward right here with that roach-based army, while the rest of the Terran army is distracted on the other side of the map. The question is there enough right now for Terran to push through? These queens on the ground that were made earlier, they are still healing up a lot of those brutes. One big anti-armor missile, though, really reducing the effectiveness right here of those Brute Lords, but at the same time, looks like one command center absolutely got smashed. A lot of SCVs also are going down in the process, and while the majority of the ground army is gone, MarineLord does still have a lot of Vikings in the air. He's still producing quite a few of them as well, right? So that means that Reynor will be shut down. But the question is, right? While Reynor got shut down here, the Terran army also did get hit really, really badly. Who is currently ahead? I think, actually, all things considered, it has to be our Zerg. Still, though, that's a lot of mining here for Terran. He does have that missile turret in the back. And the base in the bottom, or in the top left, still has not been spotted. That's actually a really big deal. There's a lot of mining going on that Reynor does not know about. He must assume right now that his Terran opponent is in a terrible spot, but, you know, there's still a lot of mining here for MarineLord. So how many SCVs ended up going down there? 36 in total versus 26 drones. A couple of roaches at a time, though. This kind of stuff does hurt. You don't really want to give away your army like that. And there we go. The siege tanks. They will be able to make short work of those roaches. Alrighty, man, this is a scrappy game. This is a scrappy game, and I'm loving it. This is the kind of game where I'm looking at it, and it's so hard to say who's currently ahead. I mean, it looks like Reynor is going to try and take a more passive approach right now, so focus on those Queens, Corruptors, and Brute Lords. But if I'm looking at the MarineLord production right now, the majority of his production is just simply anti-air, right? He does still have a lot of command centers up as well, so even though he did lose a lot of SCVs, he's going to be able to rebuild that army very quickly. A couple of Ravens now coming out as well. They no longer deal damage, obviously, with the anti-armor missile. Ooh, one hero, Hellbat, feeling adventurous. But another hatchery indeed was just killed by MarineLord. Excellent move. He's trying to target fire down actually those Vipers. The Vipers extremely useful in this scenario. There we go. Parasitic bombs are being used. Excellent control there by MarineLord though, splitting off those weakened units almost immediately. And sure, Corruptors with anti-armor missile, they're easier to pick off, but they're not gonna just die and roll on over. Command center in the center of the map though will be forced to lift up right now by these Zerglings, because obviously these guys, they're not just microing one fight. Imagine only microing one engagement. No, that's ridiculous. The command center in the center of the map has just been lifted. And it does look like actually Reynor chased down those Vikings all the way to the other side of the map. And they are gonna be able to kill the majority of those Vikings too. So that's only 3 Vikings right now that remain. Now obviously that was a bit of a sacrifice there on those Corruptors, but he was replacing it with more Corruptors. And right now, by reducing the amount of Vikings, the Brute Lords become infinitely more effective. Well, this is awkward. One hero Cyclone. It felt adventurous. It's like, guys, I found one! And then it died immediately. Anti-armor missile once again being utilized here. That's one free Brute Lord. Excellent control there by MarineLord once again. This is awkward though. Like, he can't really group up these units very easily, right? Like, it's not in fight you can just easily group up. Great abducts though there. Shutting down a couple of those Vikings out of the sky. And while he is still producing a lot of them, this trade here for Terran is really not that cost efficient. The Brute Lords now also are going to be able to start throwing Brutelings at both of the command centers here that are trying to mine those juicy golden minerals. Queens trying to heal up all of those brutes as well, but obviously with the transfuse nerf, it is not going to be quite as effective as it once was in the past. All of the queens on the ground looks like they will be roasted with the exception of just a single one, but now with the siege tanks on siege, they are going to be forced to retreat, and somehow, some way, Reynor has clawed himself back into this game. The Corruptors, they're going to start puking over that planetary fortress. Looks like they will be forced away there by those Vikings as well. There is indeed one missile turret on the ground, but it doesn't look like Reynor really cares too much about it. He's just gonna continue he's just gonna try and continue deal damage here as much as possible. One command center now finally burning as well, but MarineLord's economy is still set up on the left-hand side of the map, and I feel like that's one of the big gaps right here in Reynor's play. He's assuming the amount of economy that his opponent has, but it's actually far bigger. It has been far bigger for quite some time as well. Alright, looks like MarineLord, he recognized, wait a second, I cannot fight this army. Instead, I'm gonna go for a counterattack. Thors are now also joining the fray. They're gonna be excellent with that high impact mode in particular against the Brute Lords, but also the Corruptors. But now the siege tanks, right, they deal a tremendous amount of single target damage. They're gonna be able to get rid of that hatchery just like that. There you go, hatchery gone. And obviously, even though they are not sieged up, they are just simply going to be able to outrun those Brute Lords with relative ease. So that's actually 19 drones that ended up going down there. So what seemed to be heavily in favor there of Zerg just a second ago, all of a sudden, looks like an engagement that went in favor of Terran instead. Dude, this... oh, man. I like StarCraft so much. Like, StarCraft is... it's just getting better and better. Honestly, like, this level of play here, and just, like, the strategies that are being used, like... the meta is still so very much so up for grabs, but it seems like pretty much every unit has its spot. I mean, even like a swarm host switch right now would be sick for Zerg, which is crazy to assume because usually you wouldn't really see those units for so long, but we have been seeing a lot of swarm host play lately, and I think against this kind of composition, it's excellent. Anyway, a couple of Corruptors made their way towards the command center right over here. They're actually going to be in trouble because that's a really, really big cloud of Vikings. At the same time, though, the Roach Ball is moving forward. It's going to try and target fire down one of those planetary fortresses. And while the SCVs were desperately trying to repair, they were not able to do so. The majority of the Vikings, though, ended up killing the majority of the Corruptors as well. And while Reynor did end up killing a planetary there, the question is, was that really worth it? Because he did lose a lot of Roaches, but also a lot of Corruptors here in the process. And as soon as you have enough Vikings, right, which seems to be the case here for MarineLord, oh, actually, hold that thought, great burrow micro there. Zerg is going to be able to jump on top of at least some of those siege tanks there. One of the Thors also ends up going down. Oh, man. But the question is, right, if you get enough Vikings out at this point, Terran can start switching towards Liberators, and I think MarineLord is doing that excellently. If you get enough Liberators out, obviously you can start slow pushing with the Siege Tank Liberator-based army, and with the Thors and the Vikings for anti-air, there's so much potential. Once again, though, the scans are gonna confirm where those roaches are at. Reynor forced to retreat with his tail between his legs. Love that missile turret positioning as well. Actually, the missile turret is gonna refuel and detect a lot of those tunneling clawed roaches. Great thinking there, on his feet once again by MarineLord. Two Corruptors here in the top left-hand corner are trying desperately to shut down that planetary, but it looks like the missile turret will finish in time, and that's gonna get this aggression shut down as well. Man. I really want to compliment MarineLord here as well. For all of you that have ever played Terran Mech, you know how hard it is to defend everything. Because your army is so slow. Here we go though, big engagement. The Brood Lords are still up in the air, but the Vikings are picking them off one by one. But even though there are a lot of Broods that went down there, there's not a lot of units left on the ground for MarineLord either, and the Roaches eventually are gonna be able to shut all of this down too. What a sick match. Once again, MarineLord going back into that siege tank production. Like, both players are trying to outsmart each other and maneuver each other, but it's not really happening, right? Vikings on the ground are actually pretty scary as well, still. Couple of Corruptors trying to be a nuisance. Eventually, though, I think this missile turret will likely shut it down as well. Even this base is now being taken. I don't think I've ever seen a Terran player mine from this command center. That is insane. What are the upgrades like right now? Okay, so there's no +3 air weapons just yet here for Terran, which I actually would really like to see at this point. Only +2/+1 actually for Zerg. That's a big loss. That's a lot of missed DPS there, because these 3/3 tanks, they do not mess around, although they're not sieged up. That does mean that Zerg is going to be able to get a really good surround. Now the Queens are coming out from the creep as well. They're going to try and see if they can continue dealing the damage. The Vikings on the ground, obviously, are scary, but they are not scary enough to force that army back, and that's actually some of the last siege tanks there for MarineLord. I think there's only a single one remaining right now. Yeah, there it is. MarineLord is going to be in a lot of trouble. Still, hold position micro right here on these SCVs as well. It's gonna slow down a lot of the roach advancements, and while indeed the siege tank was picked off, it looks like the Liberators are gonna be there to hold ground for now. Man. I am such a fanboy of SC2. Like, seriously though, I love that I get to do this thing full time, guys. Get this. Right? I get to do what I really enjoy doing full time, and I get to witness these players just get better and better over time. Reynor, though, decided that he needs to get himself another base. He is mining from the golden minerals here in the center. This is now actually opening up another attack path, another avenue for his units to reinforce through, which is kind of cool, right? This planetary fortress, though, on the left-hand side will finish up, and I really think that Reynor should have probably been scouting a little bit more actively in this area, right? This is a scary commitment though, right? Are these roaches going to be enough? No, I don't think so. In particular, not with repair. Also not with the fact that the Terran army is once again moving forward. MarineLord feeling ballsy. He decides to just simply move straight through the center of the map. The Liberator Siege Tank Ball with the Vikings, as well as, of course, that Raven for support. They're going to try and deal some damage. Great Corrosive Balls, though. That's going to shut down 2 of those tanks immediately. The next set of Corrosives are likely going to go down straight on top of all of those Liberators, although he's got to be careful that he does not bile down his own Roaches. But I think eventually this army will be shut down, and yeah. MarineLord is once again forced to retreat. Look at the amount of mining, though. That's insane, right? Mining the golden minerals from the other side. He's got the left... Dude, the fact that he's got this base up is like one of the most ridiculous things. I've never really seen anyone do that on this map. He's even now going to try and take the CC on the other end, even though there's a roach right there. I think the Lynx are going to be able to get the kill pretty easily, but this should at the very least ring a bell as well for Reynor, that the other base is likely taken as well. One hero Marine. It's got 4 kills. It hasn't gotten promoted to Sergeant yet, but I think with one more confirmed kill, it's gonna be able to get promoted here. Imagine we had promotions like that in SC2. Imagine we had those kind of promotions. Units would start dealing 15% more damage after getting 5 confirmed kills. Something ridiculous like that. We get a very different RTS. Alright, the Liberator. It is gonna siege up here. That's a very annoying position. Sure, there's a Spore Crawler, but that's going to be quite a lot of drones that end up going down as well. Now, interestingly enough, Zerg has been switching back to a Roach Ravager-based composition. And Roach Ravager is fine, but against big Terran armies, it usually has a hard time competing. Look at this army right here from MarineLord. He is practically maxed out. These Zerg units are still at +2/+1 only, which is really not that impressive. And right now, the Liberator count is really getting out of control. Oh man, that's a lot of corrosive balls though, shutting down so many of them with ease. Once again, the tunneling clawed roaches, man, they're the ones ready to save the day. Look at the amount of, oh man, you saw those shades on the ground? They are going to be able to shut down at least some of those tanks. Once again, the corrosive balls moving forward as well. The roaches once more tunneling forward towards not a group of those siege tanks, but the base in the center as well as the center position will likely be destroyed. And MarineLord is the one here eventually in an extremely action-packed game who does obtain the victory. What an epic match. I just want to point out that this game started with a double proxy Rex. This game started with a double proxy Rex and it's been action-packed and absolutely ridiculous ever since. I hope that you enjoyed watching it. If you did, do make sure you hit that like button. And if you want to see more, you know what to do. Smash that subscribe button and click the little bell icon so you get notifications as soon as future videos go live. But other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile alright. A special shout out to the Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much. But I will see you once again in the next one.